Now, obviously, the 80 series was a world car, so it wasn't restricted to Japanese versions, or it was only a US thing. Everyone in the world got an 80. Now, the difference is what they got and how it's trimmed is quite significant. There are different versions and variants of the 80, but we'll start with market differentiations. Now, obviously, there's the Japanese market ones. There's also the Australian ones. There's also the South American market, as well as North America, obviously, as well as Europe and the UK and Indonesia. Now, why specifically Indonesia? Because Indonesia and the Philippines have a slightly different spec compared to ours, so I felt that it should be mentioned. Now, Now, jumping in, it's probably the best time to talk about the different variants of the 80 series. Now, there are at least 4 to 5 different based on region. We'll start with the Japanese, the Australians next, then the British, then the Europeans, then the Americans, because it's just how we got to here. Pardon. Now, in the Japanese Model 80s, the easiest way to tell is, of course, these body moldings over here. On the VX Limited, especially, they have these really chunky body moldings. Now, there's a difference to how do you tell a 12 and a 24 valve in this spangle. The 24 valves, aka 1HD FT powered / updated dashboard, these body moldings are significantly bulkier compared to, let's say, a 93 1HD T1, or even like an FJ80 version. Now, the Australian counterpart also has these body moldings, but they are, crucially, they are flush mounted compared to these 24 valve ones, which are a bit bulkier, so that these are the most premium body moldings in terms of cachet among us guys in Sabah. Now, the Australian version, especially the Sahara, has a Sahara inscription blended into the body moldings in the D-pillar body molding, compared to, let's say, the Indonesian ones, because in Indonesia they have a very different spec of car. We here have it as VX Limited. In Indonesia, we have VX. The two trims that sort of count for me personally is VXR and VX. Now, VXR is their version of the VX Limited that was available for the Indonesian market as well as the Philippines market, I think, because they share similar market value. So, as it were to say VX Limited on this one, it should say VXR on an Indonesian VXR. Now, moving on to the European version, the body moldings are exactly the same for the Australian ones, just minus the Sahara bit at the back. Whereas for the American version, the Americans, well, they got a really pie-sized one that was flush mounted between the top section and the bottom section of the door. It's just pie size compared to, let's say, the VX Limited one. But in retaliation, then, they have this third reflector on the D pillar, just below, just where the body molding would be. There will be a reflector in the back. Now, for the UK version of these cars / parts of Europe, the tailgate also has another reflector on the back that's mounted in the rear. So that's how you distinguish what version of an 80 you have. And also, different markets entail different equipment levels. The HDJ81s came with a pretty luxury version, especially if you got limited trim or you've got the more Luxor Barge L edition. These are either leather seats as factory or the cloth ones. This has the leather seats and the leather trim inside. They also came with this wood garnish on top, mounted here just where the door handle is, as well as trim around the edges of where the window and the ashtray is. To dominate, it was a more luxurious version. Now, the other market ones also feature something like this, but in Japanese culture, the faux wood grain is sort of high class. So this car has it because it's a limited. Whereas if you had, let's say, a VX would be more conservatively, you know, dressed up. It will not have the wood trim, as well as this being in blank plastic or following body plastic colors. Let's say if you had a gray trim one, you would have gray window switch panel covers, and if vice versa you have a brown one, you would have brown covers on top. And as well, I forgot to mention, later ones also have different what you call trim on the felt that's on the doors as well as the carpet. The upper trim cars have this gray or brown felt material to it at the bottom edge of the door, whereas the more basic versions, let's say the DXs, don't feature any of that at all. In fact, the door skin part is all is either cloth, or if you are really cheap, vinyl. Like seriously, like 60 series GX levels of vinyl. So that these came in so many variations that there was a trim for everyone. DX for, let's say, the commercial mines in Australia, all the way up to VX Limited, which is basically a luxury car. Now obviously there is so many versions of the 80 that I will actually make it into an encyclopedia at one point. So let's start with trim levels as well. Now we'll start with Japanese. There's standard, GX, VX, VX Limited, as well as the special editions. Now in Australia you get GX, standard, GX, GXL, VX, and VX Sahara. The Sahara being top trim. Now we start with the Japanese as standard. Now the standard ones are as the most basic version of it. You get nothing. You don't even get these flares here. As well as that, you do not get a carpeted interior. The carpet is actually vinyl. In fact, that you could actually grab a hose and hose the entire car outside to clean all the muck and gunk from them as well. Another different change is, of course, the seats. They're not going to let you have leather seats in a standard. So what they did was they gave you the most basic vinyl seating. So you basically got one bucket seat on the driver's side, and depending on which TIDAS optioned your car, there's actually a bench seat for these. So there is no center console, on some standard models /DX in Australia. If you did have, if the TIDAS didn't option with a what you call a three-row seating abreast, you actually got basically a one single piece console. Well, that depends as well, because the console either went fully, which means that the transmission selector as well as the transfer case, there is a cover on top of that on upper trim models. On the lower trim ones, it's just whole there. All you can see is just a boot on the inner, just a laying in between the vinyl and the carpet, as well as the transfer box lever. And the base model also mostly got 1HZs as standard, as well as 1FZs. Now 1FZs are more of a GX thing, so most of them are pretty basic as well. Oh, I forgot to mention, you see this cluster over here? On a DX/standard, you actually don't get a rev counter. You only got speed, as well as where the rev counter should be, it only says fuel gauge as well as temperature. How TIDAS can that be? Now, moving on to, oh, I almost forgot as well, the door trims. Obviously, you're not going to get leather and this fancy wool carpet and door cards on a standard or a DX. What you get is very simple. One piece of plastic vinyl all over and a manual hand wind. So you don't even get power windows in this sucker. You just get this part and just vinyl until about here, door handles, a winding window. That's what you got. You didn't even have bits of the top section of the door trimmed as well. So if you burned your arm, you can thank who for such antics. Now moving on to the GX. Now the GX is ever so slightly more luxurious, which my by mean that it still has manual windows, so you do not get these, but at least the trim is actually extended all the way to the top. Obviously it's not in this fantastic leather slash good grade automotive plastic. What you get is basically like this fur slash felt material that's not the same one as you find the VX Limited. It's just one piece of felt and part armrest and part power windows. It depends on which type option it. You can have power windows that's on one cubicle, as well as one small dinky armrest as well. Though luckily on GXs you can have a door pocket at the bottom. Finally, something that's a good news. Now moving on to the GXLs. The GXLs are more luxurious. Now this time you actually got power windows as well, for once. Now the power windows entail that yes, the trim on the top of the doors is like this coated fur thing is still there, but you've at least got power windows as well as finally door cards. On the subsequent later, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, anything GX and above, you actually got a rev counter for once. So whoever optioned your GX, at least he wasn't tight-ass enough to not option a rev counter on his 1HZ. Anywho, on GXs as well, you actually get carpeting. So you don't get the bog basic fur carpeting on these like you do on the standards or the DXs. As well as that, on the GXs, you actually get cloth seats. Now cloth, not in the felt like you find in the VX Limited. It's more trimmed conservatively. It's more comfortable on some trips, but it's not exactly a showstopper. It doesn't have any fancy adjust or bolster like this car does. As well as that, the steering wheel is different. Now the steering wheel on early model cars is actually just a horn on the center like you do on early 12-valve ones, with no airbag. Now this one is the luxurious one that actually has leather around, has dual airbags as well. Anywho, you could actually have a friggin' console in the center for once on the GX. Now GXLs are more in line with what you'd find on, let's say, Malaysian shores, no, Australian shores. You actually get a surround for the transfer and the gearbox, as well as a center console that does not have the fridge, as the fridge is the Sahara thing in Australia, as well as pretty decent seating. Some accoutrements like, say, this being one piece rather than being split up. As well as that, you get the option for I think you can actually get the sunroof as an option on GXLs. Other than that, oh yeah, the carpet you could actually option these to have gray or beige or brown. Now on Japanese VXs, now this is where you get the really comfy stuff. Now remember the emission of flares on GXs? On GXLs and VX and above, you actually get these flares according to what generation you get, the wider ones. Which means that these are definitely more flash compared to, say, the standard and the DXs. Now also you'll notice that on GXs, as well, the difference between a GX and a GXL is these fender molding, these body moldings. Now these body moldings are exclusive to any car that is basically a GX or a GXL and above. On a standard, you will not have any of this. It's just door. There's no accessory to add on to it. It's just door. Anywho, other than that, oh yeah, on GXLs as well, you can actually option them with pretty decent engines. Now, standard trim and GX trim, you can have them in 1HZs, but standard trims only. You can only have 1HZ and 1FZ. Now, anything GX and above, you get access to the 3F on the early cars, 1FZ on the later cars, as well as 1HDT and 1HDFTs on the subsequent later model ones. But I have heard slash seen a few standard GXs around these parts with a 3F carburetor. Now, how ancient is that? Anywho, Other than that, the interior, in terms of the interior, I think the only differences is the center console as well as the surrounds for the shifter. That's about it. Now, in terms of luxury versions, let's say the VX and the VX Sahara or the GXLs and whatnot, you get better seating as well. Now, on the GXLs and the VXs, you can actually option them to have this felt like almost early Alcantara material on them, where it's actually quite comfortable to sit on. Now, on VX Limiteds, you can actually have these options in power. And as well as that, you can have, well, let's see here. Oh, you can also option these, well, at least in Australia, with third row seating. Now, even the third row seating, the seat pattern is according to what you option. Now, on GXLs, you get cloth seats. On VXs, you get either felt or leather. Oh, there's also another difference in the rear, on the third compartment. Now, on DXs as well as GXs, you get bench seats that fold sideways. So you could be sitting there like you are in let's say in the HA47 Troopy, old school in a bench seat. Now, if you go to anything GXL and above, that entails that you have forward-facing seats instead of side-facing seats. Anywho, I think that's about it. Oh, and also the option for a rear aircon setup, which this particular car has, as well as heated seats as well, and interior heating. If you enjoyed part 3, I hope you enjoyed part 4.